Welcome back to Tabletop 24, welcome back to the UKGE show floor. I'm with Dave here of Paverson Games, and we have been looking at Distilled. So tell us a little bit about Distilled.
Yeah, so Distilled is the first ever game about crafting spirits in a distillery. You've got really great wine games, great beer games, but nothing about whiskey, gin, rum. So I wanted to change that. I designed this game to not be worker placement, but actually card-based. And it's heavy theme, so dripping with theme throughout the box. It's high component quality. There's a little bit of mitigate your luck. There's a little bit of recipe fulfillment, some resource management, and some tableau building.
Okay, lovely. So how difficult was it to put that to the theme?
You know, it's funny. I actually came up with the idea when I was living in Scotland, touring lots of distilleries, drinking a little whiskey, playing lots of board games, and actually I came up with this idea of the distilling process has this part where the first part of the run that comes off the still and the last part's actually toxic. That's how they make nail polish remover, actually. Distillers know this, so they make a cut. They call it the head and the tail cut. And then they use the middle part for the actual spirit. They use the cuts they made, though, in future batches. And I thought, that's interesting. It's almost like some sort of like deck building, cut deck type of idea. So I came up with that concept for the mechanic where you mix up your batch and you take the top card and the bottom card and you pull them out. And you use it in a future batch. But what that means is the ingredients that you used might not end up making what you wanted it to make. So you've got a list of recipes that essentially what that does is, if I'm trying to make whiskey and I fail, I can always fall back and make something else as well. So you always make something in Distilled that might not be what you intend to do unless you work really hard at making sure you've got the right ingredients and enough of them as well.
Which is just like the liquor making process.
Exactly.
So sometimes you get a really nice woody whiskey, and sometimes you don't.
That's right. And that's the next step I took is I thought, well, how can I push this even further with theme? And I said, well, whiskeys, they have to age. They have to sit in a warehouse for multiple years, usually, and age. And that's what gives them the color, the flavor. People don't know this, but when you first make whiskey off a still, it's clear. It's vodka, basically. It's just a clear spirit. And the reason it turns more brown and has flavor is because of what it sits in, that wood. So what I decided to do, too, was then there's a part in the game where you have a warehouse in your distillery, and you can then store your whiskey in there, and over the course of the game, every round, you add flavor cards. These flavor cards could be things like oaky or chocolate or coffee, but they also could be skunky or manure or plastic. And the idea, again, is that there's so many ways to mitigate luck in the game. It's your choice as to whether or not you want to do that. You could just say, I'm drawing a card, I don't get to choose it of a flavor and putting it in. It's not going to hurt you, but it might not be as good as chocolate or coffee. Or you could buy an upgrade to build your engine to say, no, I do want to choose my flavors. So it's always, I like to give the players the decision space themselves to decide if they want to push their luck or not, and they can go either route. So sometimes we have players that don't like luck in games, and I get that. So they can work hard to mitigate that through the game, but other players say, I don't care, that's fine, luck is fine, and then whatever comes is comes, and I'm having fun with it. So I try to set that game up that way so that whatever route the player wants to go, they can.
Yeah, brilliant, fantastic. So where can people get hold of Distilled now?
Yeah, so they'll be able to find Distilled probably at their friendly local game store. They can also, if they're in the States or in Canada, they can find it just on PaversonGames.com. So those two places would be the best part. Of course, here at the UK Games Expo, but sorry, everybody, you're going to miss out on that. Maybe next year. But seriously, though, they can get it online. They should be able to get it at their local game store as well.
Perfect. Well, that's not the only thing you bought this weekend, is it?
That's right. So a couple other things. One, really quick, I have brought some expansions for Distilled as far as extra bits. We're going to be releasing some of those expansions, actually, in the next couple months. So this is going to be one that adds a fourth region to the game. So people will be able to buy that in retail. They can get it here this weekend exclusively, but eventually it will be in retail as well. But then the other thing that we brought was Luthier. This is going to be the next game we're coming out from Paverson Games. This is about the craft of crafting musical instruments in the golden age of classical music. Maybe making instruments for Bach or Beethoven, but as the instrument maker themselves. Right now it's in complete prototype stage. We really believe in the idea of opening up the curtain to show the process for Paverson Games on how we make games. I find so many companies decide to just wait to show the game until it's fully finished. I really want people to see the process behind game development and game design. So what we have here at the Expo is a complete prototype. The gameplay is very far established. There's no art or graphic design at all. And you're going to see that as you roll over that. But what we're very excited about is Vincent Dutrade is going to do all the art for the game. So the game is about crafting musical instruments by hand, and there's no better artist to do that than Vincent, because everything he does is paint by hand and draw by hand.
It's all that classical feel in the art that he...
Exactly.
So when's that coming?
We are shooting for a summer 2024 Kickstarter, so we've got about a year, and we wanted to make sure that we really develop the gameplay to a point where we're happy with it, and then take as much time as we need with the graphic design and the art, because just like Distilled, we really shoot for a top-shelf, exquisite experience for the players. I want you, when you open up that box, to just feel like, wow, yeah, this deserves every quid I paid for this, I'm getting out of this thing. And that's going to be the same way with that. The component quality at the top of the line and everything else.
Perfect. So obviously, where are people going to be able to find that prototype coming next?
Yes, so we will have the prototype for play at Gen Con. So if you're going to Gen Con, you'll be able to see it there. At the end of the summer, if you're someone that plays online as well, we will have a public mod available on Tabletop Simulator as well, free for anyone that wants to play that. That'll probably be in around August or September.
Perfect. So obviously check that out. That will be a little bit way off for the actual Kickstarter, right. But I think a lot of people will be eager to get hold of that Tabletop Simulator mod. So thank you for your time now, Dave. Check out other videos from the convention, and we will catch you next time. Take care.